We welcome the night.
Hello, just movies and news from the world of horror. Joining me tonight, as always, is my co-host Ian. Ian, are you there?
I hope so.
Me too. People won't know, but we've spent an hour trying to get this thing to work, and we were supposed to go live on YouTube, and some kind of glitch is going on. So this is going to be pre-recorded instead of going live as we intended. But that's always the way things go. You never exactly know what to expect when we're doing these shows. Sometimes the show just goes out. Sometimes Blog Talk doesn't want to work. Sometimes YouTube doesn't want to work. Sometimes Images doesn't want to show up on screen. Sometimes it's always something.
Yeah,
And but we're here and we're starting something that we wanted to do a while back after we did our last show, which was the Mousetrap, and we were wanting to kind of do a mini marathon, and a couple things kind of hindered that, where we have been gone a little bit of time, a few weeks, about a month, and again, personal things, health things, everything gets into the way, and you just can't help to, you can't make plans as intended. Things come up, and finally, when things do work out, internet internet recording shit. But we are wanting to do a little bit of a mini marathon leading into our Halloween grab bag marathon, and we decided let's do some werewolves. And I named it the Fall of Beast Feast, because it is fall, and we're feasting on some werewolves. So we shall kick this off with a little film that I chose. And usually whenever I choose one, it's always, I don't know, these first films don't really go the way as we wanted, but we never know. But our first film is Devil May Care. And Ian, you can put the poster up. And Devil May Care is from this past year, 2023. And I thought it sounded interesting, sort of like a Night of the Demons. I've seen a bunch of stuff where like a bunch of teenagers go into an abandoned place and there's some kind of presence afoot. And I was like, okay, it looks interesting. There's like a little bit of demonic, presence there. And I was kind of like intrigued by it. I was getting like Night of the Demons 3 type vibes with it a little bit. And there's a few other ones in there, but I don't want to get into them because I always have to bring it back and recall something else. And I think people it kind of gets annoying. But we're introduced to 6 individuals. 2 of them apparently are couples. And one, then you have like the nerdy friend who's kind of hooking up, not really hooking up, but kind of wants to hook up with the sort of the designated fat chick in a sense, whereas like, all right, whatever, in a sense, like you can hook up with her because she's single. Um, so they decide, and again, it's not really mentioned, but I think it's around Halloween, so it's sort of there because they're all dressed up in costumes and um, stuff like that. But it's not mentioned. But they all get together and they go to this abandoned theater in the middle of the woods. Um, and there's this legend there where there's this pact with the devil or satanic happenings that's been going on at that place, the theater. Um, and they get there and it's just a bunch of nonsense, teens talking for like 80% of the movie, and then finally something happens. Um, and there's really not a lot of plot. And what plot they do give, you wish they kind of started that a little bit earlier instead of waiting until the last 15 minutes to actually do something with it. Um, and there's not really much to go into besides, again, the conversations. There's like a back plot uh, with a person that used to be an actor there called Frederick, and he did something and like called the devil and became possessed. And then there's the other backstory where like the devil had sex with an actress who gave birth to a beast werewolf, and apparently that's happening at the same time at this location. So it's sort of like a gateway to hell in a sense, or an entry point to hell. And so the like, I guess just going there, they awaken the spirits, and like the devil or something is able to like uh transform into like, you know other people of the group, like the main Missy's like boyfriend. He's able to transform into that. So there's like body transformation, there's like some zombies, there's tentacle monsters, there's a werewolf, there's ghosts, there's all kinds of stuff, and it doesn't really do much, sadly, and you're kind of just left unfulfilled with a rather just mediocre movie.
Yeah.
And like there was, I mean, it's not like it's terrible. It's just, it's just kind of there. It kind of reminded me of another one we watched and reviewed called The Night Before Easter, and that's the one with the teens going to the storage units and they're being attacked by the killer in the bunny costume. And it kind of reminded me of that because like half the movie they're just in the storage units talking in the front of the building, locked in it, and then at the very end they get picked off. So it's sort of like that, but like at least like there's like catacombs underneath the theater, and like there's interesting things that happens in the film with the devil and the werewolf and the zombies, and of course like the tentacle stuff happening. So like there's all these interesting things. They just use them in the last act, and like they could have like sprinkled a little bit more earlier on instead of having like the stupid conversations that don't go anywhere. And like again, I guess you're trying to build atmosphere and like tension among the characters, but the characters are just forgettable and they don't really do anything, and you don't even know their names that much. And like there's a few, in passing, like Missy and Sue, and I think Elaine is the only ones I know for the girls. And like I have no idea about the guys. Like I don't know if one's Reggie or Brad. I have no idea. Um, so like the names are basically non-existent, and the film itself is just like there's a lot that could have been done. I mean, it's a short film. It's like 75 minutes, and there's like so much that they crammed a lot in there, but they didn't do a lot with it. And they could have sprinkled more throughout there because it could have been decent instead of just being one of those that's just ultimately forgettable. And like I said, there's good ideas, and like it could have been fun, but it's so long, so drawn out until finally the last act where like everything converges, and then you have like the werewolf sprinkled in and out a little bit, and like stalking the group and other things along as the film progresses, and like the devil making appearances here and there, and body snatching all that stuff. The zombies, very minor threat. And he's just like a little bit more like backstory. I mean, they give you some, but like, I mean, is it actually a gateway to hell, or is it like because what's all the tentacle monsters? What is this? Specific area in the woods for this theater to be on. I mean, there's like here and there. I mean, there's a beginning part of the opening, the intro of the film, and like I guess that kind of calls forth to why it's kind of possessed or whatever it is, because it's like satanic cult meeting place because it's abandoned. But again, there's a lot of stuff throughout that could have been good if utilized better. But Ian, I'll let you talk and then we'll go back and forth.
Oh, man. Well, I feel like if you have insomnia, this is a good movie to watch to help you go to sleep. The movie was boring. And for a werewolf movie that barely had a werewolf in it, because I was expecting a little bit more, especially from like the picture and the description and everything. Like it looked like it was set up to be something interesting, but then it was just mostly. I was looked at it and I was like, man, I'm already almost halfway into this movie, and nothing really has happened except for talking and making out, and I felt like that theme continued even through the end, and like the ending kind of just happened, and I was like, I was left really underwhelmed by this movie. The werewolf was okay. I've seen worse, seen better, but I mean, it did look cheesy and fake, but that's what you get with these low budget films. The devil scenes were okay. I wish they were a little bit better. But other than that, nothing really kind of happened.
Yeah, there's like no threat. There's like no urgency. Like there's like all these things combined into one, and they're just like they're not like I said, they're just not utilized. There's another film from 1997 called Dead End, INN, and that one's like had like a bunch of convicts and they're on the road and they go to this, uh, basically this inn in the middle of nowhere, and there's like zombies and demons and an evil innkeeper and like a devil. There's like all this stuff combined into that one. That's a fun movie, for 1997. And I mean, sadly, it's not available on anything besides like VHS. But I think it's on YouTube if you want to check it out. But that's a fun little movie that I kind of champion behind because it's like one of those that like came out of nowhere and it has a sense of fun and it's like, I mean, it's like campy and cheesy at the same time, but there's fun to it and it has like again some minor threat. It's in a way it's like a 90s version of Spookies, where it's just like all these things combined into one in one location. And like this one could have done that because there's like so many, again, like the satanic cult, the theater setting being abandoned, sort of semi Halloween related with them dressed up in costumes, even though it's not mentioned. The devil having sex and giving birth to a creature. And as you said, it's not the best looking werewolf. It's definitely not what you see on the cover there. But it's serviceable, even though it is just like you can definitely see the actor's mouth inside the. They didn't connect it. Let's just say that. They needed to. It looked. They needed to do something with those eyes and that mouth area, but it's better than Desert Wolf. I'll just say that. At least they didn't just put hairs and cotton swabs on it and paint it black. But again, it's like there's just like no urgency, no threat. I mean, they're just kind of running around doing things and like no real purpose. They're just in there. Like at no point like did it ever say that they were locked in there. They could have just left. They didn't. It didn't seem to me like they were trapped. It just seems like they're just sitting there in the middle of the auditorium for no reason. you know? And it's just like they're just sitting around listening to the wolf, like, I'm not going to be scared of no fox. And it's just like, and then things start happening. They see the zombies and the devil, and like, you're not really technically trapped there. You can still leave. I mean, unless the whole wolf being outside is what kept them in, but they never really mentioned that. So it's just like they're just sitting around bewildered, just like, oh, I don't know what to do. And then like the ghost of the past and like the body snatching stuff of, and just like a lot of it's just not. It didn't feel like it was thought through enough. And like they had, like, again, it's like they had all these ideas and they just didn't see it to fruition of like what it could have intentionally been. Um, because like I can, again, it's one of those, I can see the writing on the wall. It could have been one of those fun ones, just like Demon Slayer, or was it Demon Slayer, or like those early thousands haunted house movies, like The Doorway, something like that. I'm trying to think of another one where it's just like people in a house. It's sort of similar to Night of the Demons, and but yeah, they just don't do anything to utilize it to its full potential. I mean, there's no real threat, and there's no real danger, and like you don't exactly. I mean, there's like a little plot of like Missy that kind of resembles the devil's previous flare, like not flare, but a fling, like a centuries old lover. That's been done, but like they don't really do much with that either. Like, I'm not like, is he gonna try to give birth to another thing? Like, what's going on here? Like he just wants her, but it's not really made clear. Um, I don't know. Like I said, it could have been more fun, but like you said,
Oh
it's
yeah,
just it's
definitely.
boring and just goes on. And like as I mentioned, it's just one of those that you're gonna ultimately end up forgetting. Like, oh yeah, we reviewed that, or like, oh yeah, it's gonna come up in passing. It's just gonna be one of those like, oh yeah. But yeah, there's like not, and for a werewolf movie and all this stuff, like it's okay. I mean, but like there could have been more fun if, especially for the one setting place. I don't know. There's just like a lot of things they could have done with it to make it more energetic, and they just. I mean, the last 15 minutes were okay, but it just like seems all over the place with like ideas that they didn't know exactly where they wanted them to go.
No, exactly. That's what I felt like. I mean, the acting was okay. Um, the the one that was telling the stories, I felt like she overacted a little bit. But uh, you know, I'm not surprised that this movie was kind of boring after like seeing the setup, but I was just like, I just really wanted it to pick up at some point. At least give a little bit more, like like you said, there's no threat. Give us something, you know. I wish it would have given us a little something, like, oh, the girl gets tied to a chair, and she went shut up, uh, and then the werewolf was just staring at them, and for a while, and I was just like, this, nothing's going on. I was like, I'm supposed to feel threatened, but here it is, like, I just, like, I feel like not even the characters were uh, worried about what was going on. Like, they were supposed to pretend, convey that, but even like the acting didn't even put me in a mindset like there's some urgency going on. Like, they have to escape. They have to escape. And I was just like, I don't know. This movie was it was long. It was a
Yeah,
long
that was
75
the thing.
minutes.
Like it was short too. It was an hour and 15 minutes, and it was just like again that nonsense of just like conversation after conversation of nothing, literally nothing, for like an hour, and then finally the last 15 minutes. Oh, here's zombies. Here's you get a typical monster a little bit early, but you don't understand. They don't give you like, oh, is it a demon spawn? What is? They don't care. They don't tell you. Um, I mean, the werewolf, it comes here and goes. Um, it's just there until it's necessary. Um, and then like the devil, he's doing his thing, but it's not really planned out. What is he want to do with the girl? And just a bunch of stuff that's just like
Yeah.
not thought out well enough. And it's just like, I don't know, man.
Wow.
It could have been so much more. It could have been more, like again, like I mean, they tried with a little bit of the atmosphere, trying to, like they're trying to build this atmosphere, but the characters, like you said, are just like forgettable, and they just go
Yeah.
on monotone. Just there's nothing there, sadly, and they could have, again, I'm repeating myself, been more fun, and
Yeah.
like it's just not there.
And I think that's what's like irks me the most is because it has a fun premise. You know, um, the setup, I was interested, like the satanic ritual and the devil, consummating that and, creating a werewolf. I was like, okay, that's fun, and did nothing with it. But I will say I like the lighting in the movie.
Yeah,
I did enjoy like all the different lighting effects that they tried to pull off. And I don't really see a whole lot of indie low budget movies try to go for like lighting like that as much. And I enjoyed that aspect, but that's it. That's all I could. I'm a lighting kind of person, so I always look for it in movies. And but
yeah, it's like
that's really
the
good.
it's like how we our thoughts on the Night Sitter. How we like the look of it, and the how it was like sort of going for that Argento look, and like the yellows and the reds and like Christmas lights and everything. But the movie just didn't fit with what it's the narrative of it. It's sort of like that, but like yeah, as you said, it looked good. I mean, like for the look of the werewolf, I mean, it's again, I can forgive it. We've seen worse. We've seen worse. Um, I'm glad it's practical. It might be cheap, but at least it's not cotton swabs cheap. Um, so I can't fault it there. At least they didn't try to do anything bad. It was just like all right, whatever. It's the hell spawn of Satan. So it's gonna look like a half man half creature. It's not gonna be full on werewolf. It's gonna have a human body and just gonna be beastly. And so I think they did for what they were trying to accomplish there. I can forgive them. Um, but again, they don't really do much with it, and that's the thing. They didn't do much with so many neat ideas or
Yeah, they really
creatures
did.
and monsters in there. They just it's like how they did with like Book of Monsters and how like they introduced all these monsters and it worked for the film and it kept this fun attitude throughout, and it's just like monster, 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 and it's like evil gnomes and you know creatures and all that going through there. And it's just like constant fun, just like what's next. And this one is just like, oh, there's like tentacle monster and some zombies, you know,
Yeah.
like look at that. I don't know, but yeah, it's as usual with most of these, we usually don't start with a good one sometimes. This is one of those where it's just like, I think it's not really the best. I mean, there's intentions there that could have been uh, done better, and they just, it's what it's in. It's in. I don't know. It wasn't as fun. It's not a fun one, and it could have been enjoyable instead of, like sprinkle it out a little bit more in the beginning. They kind of don't give you much besides long drawn out conversations and a howl of the werewolf here and someone looking behind the curtain there, and finally they're introduced to the devil, and then he's able to body swap and take the form of the boyfriend who wants to do something with the Missy that looks and resembles like a ex-lover of the devil, and I guess she resembles an actress or a lover, I don't know. Something happened with Frederick too, but who knows what. I don't even know what that was. I guess he knew the lady that resembled Missy. I don't know. Um, but yeah, there's just like a lot of, I wouldn't say loose ends. It's just like a lot of things. It's just like it needed to be more snappy instead of theatrical, in a sense, because
Yeah.
it was like very, theatrics throughout the film. And I mean, like I said, there's better ones out there. I've mentioned, Dead End, that Demon Slayer one, Children of the Night, I think is another one. I think goes into like a place before. I don't know if that's vampires or not, but there's just like, of course, all the Night of the Demons resemble that, where they're in a house. The Doorway does that. So there's better ones out there, but again, it's not for what it is. It's fine, but it's just not fun. You're just left, like I said, unfulfilled, and you're just like, well, I don't know if that needed to be that long or it needed to be longer. It's like, I have no idea, but it's just one of those where just like you could have had a fun one, but you just kind of dropped the ball. But Ian, you got any final thoughts before we just kind of call this? Because there's really not much else to discuss with it because it's fairly to the point and simple and basic.
Yeah. I really don't think there's much to go on. I mean, there's nothing really to tear into this movie about other than just like how boring it is. Um, like there's no like specific scene that stands out like positive or negative. It's
Yeah,
just kind of there. I mean, maybe some like like I mean this movie could be for kids, but who knows?
I don't know,
Like
man. Like it's like you have to compare it to Grandma Werewolf. Like that is for kids,
I
but like that
yeah,
was had like so much heart into it of
I
being
was
like
just talking
that
about that movie
the way that
yesterday.
is, and like this one, there's just like it's like you said, it's there. There's like no heart or dedication. I mean, I'm sure they worked their ass off to make it, but it just felt lacking in everything. The atmosphere, the fun story, the creatures, like the what could have been, and like Grandma Werewolf is just like out, like so fun, and has that charm to it, and this one just doesn't. It's missing that. So, and again, that Grandma Werewolf, the mask wasn't good in that one, but at least there was something to it. You could forgive it.
Well, I I actually kind of liked Grandma Werewolf. It was so
Hmm.
absurd. It was fun. Those, I mean, was it great? No, but at least it had something to actually talk about.
Yeah.
Like that's the problem with these kind of films. It's just like, especially when there's like, it's just meh. It's not like I didn't hate myself. Like there's not like because those are usually like there's moments that stand out that you're like, like look at Three Blind Mice.
Yeah.
Like like it was just as boring, but at the same time, like there was enough stuff to actually like
Yeah,
talk
that
about.
movie's fucking ridiculous.
It was enough to dissect. This is just like they turned the film on, their camera on, and started filming and talked for an hour on screen, and a werewolf popped up. Werewolf was gone. End of movie.
Yeah. Yeah, nothing. The film didn't implode on itself like Three Blind Mice. I mean, this one was just like there, like we said, it's serviceable. It's if you're just bored, or as you said, if you want to go to sleep, put it on. You know, let it lull you to sleep. But yeah, there's not really much here. I mean, it could have been funner, but it's just not the case.
No, yeah, exactly. And what I don't know. I don't know where to go with this. This movie, it's just there's nothing.
No.
Like
I said, it's not terrible. It's not something you can tear into. It's perfectly average. And it's one of those, it's just, you're going to forget about it. And like, as we said, it's like, oh yeah, that one,
No, exactly.
It's not going to be one of those that we're going to hype up. It's not going to be one of those that we're going to talk about it in passing. If it reminds us of another film, reminds us of it, like, oh, it's sort of like this. So you know what to expect. It's just,
I'm going to 100% forget this movie.
Yeah. This is going to be one of those you'll forget, and I'm going to bring it up and like, oh yeah, I forgot we watched that. That's what this one is.
At least with Werewolf Grandma, I actually remember that movie. I actually brought that up yesterday when in the car. But yeah, all right.
But I think that's going to do it, Ian. As always, I'm glad to be talking with you. It's been a while, and it's always good to just let go. I mean, I wish the film was a little bit better, but hey, it's still something to talk about, and it's always great to talk with you and just shoot the shit. And hopefully we'll be able to keep this marathon train going and enjoying some more feasting on beasts. And we're slowly creeping into the Halloween grab bag marathon. We're just a few weeks out, so we got to keep that train moving and get our other werewolf films that we have talked about, see which ones we want to discuss, and see what we have to reach our hand into come October, because that's always one of our funner shows, marathons, and I'm looking forward to it. There's one that came out that I'm interested in seeing what happens. But as always, it's great talking with you, and I appreciate everyone for listening. So we will see you next time on Horror Night Oasis.
Good night.